Hi, everybody. It is Monday night, and you are tuning in to listen to another of the series on Love Talks that's happening for the month of February. Tonight, we are discussing women and dating and really what all that entails. We're going to be touching on a number of topics surrounding that, everything from what women's roles now are in dating. We all traditionally know what they used to be. Has that changed? What does that look like? Some of the pitfalls that you can find yourself in, and how to have a lot of clarity around surrounding that topic as well. We're going to be touching on age and who's dating who and why, and we're going to be touching on the window, which is surrounding age as well. And what I'd really like to do is hear from some of you. I'd love to hear from the men and hear what some of their experiences are, and we can address those issues head on, and hear from the women as well, too. My name is Andrea Hill. I am the founder and creator of The Dinner Party. I'm a dating mentor as well. The Dinner Party is a dating service that I created to help people connect more authentically and give you a different dating option, where I bring together 8 to 12 people to connect authentically over a dinner. And I also offer a number of dating support services as well. My mandate is simply to help people date and connect better. Tonight I have Susan McCord joining me, of Dear Syber Sue fame. She's written a book. She's been on the radio a number of times and does public speaking and does one-on-one coach work as well. But I'll let Susan kind of take it away and share a little bit more about what she does and what her focus is right now. Susan, thanks so much for being here tonight. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Thanks, Andrea. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, as you mentioned, everything, basically what I do, except that I do have a talk show online that I have about 300 videos, and it's all about dating, a little bit of lifestyle, but mostly relationship and dating questions from my column. Just questions that I hear when I'm out for an evening somewhere, and the girls will bring it up or the guys will bring it up. I have a lot of men followers because men trust my opinion because I'm not judgmental. I'm slightly opinionated, but I don't try to hurt anybody, and I just say things that are, that they want to hear, but they also need to hear. So it's a combination. So my talk show was my first thing that I did. I started with podcasts and I went into video, and now I do a mixture of everything, and I write a lot of blogs. So I'm pretty busy, and the dating coaching I do as well, which I love because I love to help people get through some really tough times. And as we all know, dating right now sucks. Like, it's hard to date. So I'm here to help with that, just as you are.
Fantastic. Yeah. So I know you and I had a little chat the other day, and we've kind of outlined a rough draft about what we wanted to talk about tonight. So I'm going to dive right in and get your views on really how you think the dating game has changed, and some of the feedback you're hearing, or just you've seen firsthand on how that sort of affected the roles of women in dating. Because traditionally it was men were the pursuers. There was the whole discussion surrounding courtship. Women kind of sat back and waited for things to happen. But with the insurgence and popularity of online dating and apps like Tinder and things like that, that role's changing a little. And I know myself, I'm seeing almost some women overcompensate for it, and there seems to be some confusion about who's supposed to be doing what out there. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's definitely confusion, and I think the trick is it has changed. In answer to your question or your statement earlier, it's changed a lot. And unfortunately, the biggest problem with what's changed is people aren't meeting face to face. So if you're not a real online person, you don't really want to do that. It's even harder to meet somebody to go out with, because people are, a lot of times they're online for a good portion of their time. And when they do go out, it's because they've met somebody online that they're meeting on a date. But there's a lot of people, let's talk about a little bit maybe towards the 40s group and up, maybe mid 30s to 40 and up, they don't want to do the online anymore. They're tired of it, or they're afraid to go on it because they don't know what they're going to meet out there. And they're afraid also because the few dates they have had has turned into a disaster because maybe the guy just wants sex. Now I'm talking about women here right now. And then the guys are complaining to me that the women are so materialistic that they can't go on a date without her wanting them to spend a ton of money on them. So I always say just the first date should never be a money date. It should always be a coffee date. See if you like them. Why would you spend money on somebody you don't even know if you like?
Right.
So go out on a date, and the first time, whether it's meeting them online, meeting them at an office function or a sporting event, or a meetup group that there's many in Vancouver, and there's many probably in other parts of the world as well. And those are really good for just going and being able to learn how to talk to people, because people have forgotten how to talk. That's one of the biggest things.
Well, that's just it. Like, I know in Vancouver in particular, and I'm sure this is a challenge in some other places in the world, they're both complaining about different things. And women, the biggest complaint is that men aren't initiating contact.
They're not initiating.
They're not initiating contact. They're not approaching them. And then you talk to the men, and they're saying when they do, women are dismissive. But how I think that shifted the roles. So it kind of brings us back to that original statement. Is what I'm finding now is that women are trying to compensate for that lack of someone pursuing. But at the same time, people are out every day and they're not connecting. So what do you think has shifted and changed? And is it a perceived ideal of what their role is and why that's changed? We touched on sort of that masculine and feminine energy. And I'm finding with, talks about equality and being driven and everything else, women can be prone to taking on more masculine energy and sort of steal the thunder a bit from the guys. The guys don't really know what to do because the women have made it quite clear, I'm self-sufficient and I can take care of myself and I don't need you, is what is coming across. So I think that's where a lot of the time the roles get kind of confused.
Yeah, and you're right about that. You shouldn't ever need anybody. You want somebody in your life. And that's the difference. And I think for either sex, no guy wants a woman who's a doormat long term. Maybe when he first meets her, he likes the fact that she's super accommodating. She's willing to do all these different things. But the reality of it is, if we both have to hold on to our own sexuality and who we are. And you have to say to yourself, okay, I'm a woman. These are the kind of things I want. A man says, okay, I want to be able to fix things and not be told what to do and have a woman that's more of a powerhouse than I am. So what women, I understand this personally because as a single mom for many years, I didn't have somebody at home to help me. I had to learn how to do things. So what happened is I became extremely independent. And I could see how guys would be intimidated by that because guys still want to be needed and wanted. And what I was doing was being more like, well, yeah, I want you in my life, but I don't need you. And it was kind of bugging them a little bit because they figured, well, what can I do? What am I going to come into your life and bring into your life that you don't already have? And I said to them, I just want you to be there and be okay with me. But I had to learn how to let them be men. Because I wasn't a man and a woman. I was a woman who was very strong. And I had to learn to let go and let them do things for me once in a while. Let them be the guy in the relationship. Do you understand what I'm saying here?
No,
and
absolutely.
I think there's a lot of women out there that are making that same mistake that I did. I didn't realize I was doing it at first because I was just my own person. I'm just raising my son and I had to be part guy. Because I had to go to the hockey rink and I had to do all that stuff. So when I'm learning how to do that and kind of be the guy in the relationship for my son, it kind of sets you back. And so guys are a little bit more intimidated by that because they're looking at you going, well, what does she need me for? And that's kind of how, right? So you kind of have to let go of doing everything and being that whole person to let somebody in. I always say, clean out your closet to make room for love. And it's the same thing with who you are as a person in a relationship, just by yourself. If you're doing everything and you're just that one, that really strong powerhouse as a woman, guys don't really have a place to come in. So you have to open that up a bit to allow them to come in.
Yeah, and I think, softening and allowing room for that doesn't mean, doesn't mean that you're needy at all, or that there's a dependency there. But I think you said it beautifully in saying that you're allowing the room and space. And I feel some of the ways that you can do that is actually asking for help.
Right.
Not because you can't do it, but asking for assistance because it would be nicer or more enjoyable to have someone's help. Asking their opinion on something. Even the simplest way we talk about connecting in person is that if you're out, you could even be standing in line at the coffee shop, and if you ask the guy ahead of you his opinion on what muffin to get, you'll be amazed by the reaction that you get.
I know. It's
but
so
I think
true.
We get so sort of stiff and almost a bit defensive in allowing those things to happen because we think independence means that you can't have really room for anybody else.
Exactly.
Can you suggest any other ways that, especially if someone's working in a very male-dominated workforce, and I see that a lot, they almost take on that male energy. So can you make some suggestions on how you might coach some of your clients on how to soften that and allow room for a man in your life?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to let your guard down, because a lot of people don't realize how guarded they are. Their body language comes across like a little bit too tough. And I think you have to validate anybody that you're talking to. If say it's a man, say I'm talking to another woman and she's telling me something about that she needs or she wants or something's missing in her life, I validate those feelings and I validate what she's saying to me. I don't just go, yeah, whatever, or poo-poo it, or I allow that conversation to come in and really, really listen. And then I don't offer like how they can change anything. It's more about, I see, I understand. And just being, I liked your word that you used earlier about being softer.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the hard, I just stole my word. Women are becoming harder because they are fending for themselves. A lot of them don't get a lot of dates. So they're becoming more and more introverted in a sense and independent. So the combination of the two goes like this to guys. Like guys are like, what? Who is this girl? Because she's just too tough to get to know. She's got too many walls up. She's too guarded. She's angry. She's not necessarily angry. She's probably fed up because she's not meeting anybody. But what I always tell girls is just soften, like your word, soften up a little bit and just be a woman. I'm happy to be different from a guy. I don't want to be just like him. I don't want to be with somebody that's exactly like me. I want somebody that can offer something in my life that maybe I don't have, that can bring different things out of me. And if I'm going to be with somebody who's exactly like me, that's going to be pretty effing boring, isn't it?
Well, there's not enough room either. There's got to be space for both people within the relationship. And I think that's great, Did
you get cut off?
Harder is masculine. And no, I'm here.
Okay, so the screen just froze.
Oh, that's okay. That might happen.
Okay. Another glitch.
Is feminine, and soft does not mean weak, which I think there's sometimes some confusion surrounding that. So falling into that, a thing that comes up a lot, especially when women are dating, and I actually had a conversation with one of my clients today, is the whole date and the bill.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay.
So let's talk even early on. And the bill comes. What should be happening?
Okay, this one I've had a lot of feedback on my videos about because I've done a few things on this one. And what happens for me, okay, women get really mad at me for saying this, but what I think should happen when you first meet somebody, okay, I meet a guy and he says, I'd love to take you out for dinner. It's kind of our first or second date. It's really screwy. You don't know what's supposed to happen. Oh God, how much money am I supposed to bring? Am I supposed to just expect anything? I personally believe that when somebody, okay, if the guy asks you out for dinner, he pays. If I ask a guy out for dinner, I pay. And that's why I'm saying in the first few dates, there should be no stress financially, no money talk, nothing like that. Get to know each other, see if you want to see each other again. Don't go for anything more than a $10, whether it's a coffee and a bagel or soup or whatever. That's all you should do for the first couple of dates, because otherwise you end up with this freak out. What am I supposed to do here? What if the guy says, oh, well, I'm sorry, this is, it's our first few meetings, you got to pay half and you're at some expensive restaurant. So don't put yourself in that position. The first couple of dates, don't go and spend a lot of money. If a guy asks you up for dinner, I'm sorry, guys, I absolutely think you should pay, especially if he's taking you to some really fancy place. If you ask the guy out and say, look, I really would like to take you out for lunch or dinner, then you'd be expected to pay. Because nowadays, it shouldn't be, if we want equal rights in a lot of ways, we have to expect that we should be paying a bit too. Guys, women want equal pay. So if we're making equal pay, okay, not all of us are, but if we are, then why should the guy have to fork out all the money? You see, that's where this becomes a problem. So if we want certain things as women to change, then we have to be a little more adaptable as well. So if the guy asks a woman out, he pays. If she asks him out, she pays. Again, there'll probably be people saying that's crap, but that's the way I feel about it.
Right. Well, and I think that's key. It's how you feel about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we're influenced a lot by sort of the values or, how we were raised or our own experiences. So I think what my advice would be is you making the decision of what works best for you. And when you go out and start dating someone, being aligned with someone that feels the same way.
Sorry, I've got something going on in the background. I don't know what it is. Just shut that maybe. I apologize.
And I think that's key. So the situation that was shared with me today was that someone had gone on a date. She had been invited on the date. It was a first date. He was wanting, we've got someone that's wanting to pop on. So let's see if they just maybe have some 2 cents here. Hang on one sec.
I'm getting lots of weird feedback here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
What's going on?
What's going on?
What is that noise in the background? Okay, there we go.
So have you been listening to what we've been talking about?
Not the whole thing, no.
Okay, well, what's your name? Let's start there.
My name is Christian. I'm from Germany, Munich, Germany.
Wonderful. Well, welcome, Christian. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So tonight we're talking about women and sort of the evolution of the changing of the role in dating, or has there been? And right now we've been jumping into the topic of, going on a date, and it's a first date and the bill comes and who's paying? So how do you navigate that right now in your life, in your dating life?
Well, of course, I look good if I pay the bill. But I would have no problem if she was about to pay the bill. I mean, I wouldn't ask her to do so, but...
So if you went on a date and the bill came and you would go to automatically pay, but if she didn't offer, would that affect you moving forward and continuing on to date her?
I mean, does it really have to do anything to do with each other, bills and continuing to date?
Well, it depends on the individual, and that's sort of what we're hashing out. So what I was saying just before you popped on is Susan had shared what her feelings are on the issue. It's whoever's asking the person out really should take on the responsibility of paying for whatever it is that you're doing together. And what I hear a lot from guys, because a lot of guys want to pay for the bill. It's something that they do, or they were raised to do, or it was an ideal or that traditional role of doing it because it's kind of like the courtship side of things. But what a lot of men are saying now in feedback is that they are wanting women to at least offer. But if you go, my question to you is this then, if you go on a first date and you've invited her and you both pay, you split the bill, Is it a date?
What is a date?
Well, is it a date? If you're going Dutch, is it a date?
I mean, I can't. I would not want to. I don't know. Measure the date on who is willing to pay and stuff. I mean,
okay. So your way of navigating that is just you're reaching for the bill. But if she wanted to offer you wouldn't have a problem.
I would not stop her to pay the bill.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, we all have the amount to pay for the dinner or whatever. It's not like I'm doing her a big favor. Hey, I'm paying for your dinner. Wow, look at me. It's like she mostly can afford it herself, even to invite me.
Right.
So is that a big?
Yeah.
Is that a big issue for you guys?
It comes up a lot. It comes up a lot because it's coming down to what we're talking about tonight. Yeah, I can hear you, Susan, but I can't see you. It says you have a poor internet signal.
Really?
Yeah, hold on. Bo wants to weigh in on this. One sec. And this is a hot topic. It gets talked about a lot. I just did a TV series, and one of the questions that came up around dating was dating. Yeah, I can hear you, Sue, but I can't see you.
Oh,
so how many dates do you have a week?
Can you hear me?
Well, that's something to consider as well, right? I think it really comes down to what you doing what is aligned with you and dating someone that's aligned with those same ideals. But the old school traditional roles was in the beginning days of courtship, it was men that were paying. So we're discussing whether or not that's been changing.
But
what do you think? Are you going to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I think the bill shouldn't be like significant to the date. It shouldn't take away from the date. It shouldn't be like a real thought about thing on the date. I think the guy should just take it for the most part, given an American culture. That's usually how it goes. Don't like try to reinvent the wheel. Just get on with your date and see where it goes next. But if a girl ever was like, hey, let's split this, I'd be like, I probably wouldn't talk to her after that. So I would think of it as a vibe of, let's just be friends and go our separate ways. But that never happens anyways.
Well, what about if
that was my question.
What about if it was a continual where you had to pay the bill?
I've never came across that scenario ever.
Oh, well, that's great. That's good.
But I usually always pay first. I mean, I fought a girl over it, but not like that. But just like verbal, or I'm like, no, just take it. If you don't like it, you don't have to go on another date. But as me taking a girl on a date, I take the responsibility of the bill 100% of the time, unless it's a girlfriend. It's different.
But how much do you date, you
the
guys?
question in the beginning of this was, I don't know what's happened to those two that disappeared off the screen.
I don't know.
No, I can see all
Andrea was saying. She's the host of the show here, so I'm just a guest like you are. But I think what she was trying to see is how it goes in the first little while with somebody. And I'm just saying a lot of guys I've had complaints to me saying that the woman never picks up the bill after like the 5th, 6th date. And they just would like to see her offer because their bankroll's getting, ripped right down to nothing. So that's why I said earlier that I think that if
So, Bo, what's your 2 cents on it?
What? I couldn't hear what you just said.
That's weird, though. Now you're only in audio.
After like 5 dates.
At that point, it's like after 5, what is it? Is it your girlfriend or are you still dating?
Exactly. So how do you navigate
that? Well, yeah,
that?
exactly. I think when it's your girlfriend, you kind of come to
it. You don't just navigate it. It just happens. Once you have a girlfriend, it's like open. It's fair game. Who wants to pay? But for the most part, I mean, I'm sure it's still male dominant. At least how I was raised.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to how you were raised.
Those values instilled in them from a long time ago. So I think it's really a matter of just talking to who you're with, like who your partner, who you're dating, and if the girl's super materialistic, she says she can see us all. Okay, just a sec.
I can see.
Ask if she can hear us.
So
good.
Yes, I can.
Oh, this is crazy.
So do you feel overpowered by the man if he pays?
Yeah.
Say that again?
Do you feel like overpowered by the man?
So she can hear us talking.
Yeah, do you
Can
feel
you see-
obligated once a guy pays for the date? Is there any obligations for a female? Like,
No, I don't. I
Is there
don't
any
believe that
obligation for
there
what?
is, but I think some women can feel that way. But I think that's that's a personal thing. So
Yeah, I know this is
and
crazy.
I think a lot of the time people aren't.
I'm just going to text her
addressing the
again and see if
discussion.
she can hear us here.
You guys can
I
hear
can
me,
hear
right?
you just fine.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
okay.
can hear you now, but you shut out for a bit there, but I can't see you.
Okay, so Susan, we're just talking about,
I don't know what to do here. It's not my show, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
So, guys, maybe what I'll do.
Okay, what would you like to see with women? Maybe this will, if we keep talking, it'll pop back on again. What would you like to see happen with women nowadays? Do you feel there's a big change with women?
I think the culture changed more than women.
So you think you have no, when you go out dating, everything seems okay to you? You don't feel like a big change?
No, not really. I don't know. It's just, I like dating. Dating's fun. It's interesting.
Well, you have a good attitude, I'll say.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely,
You know,
I mean, yeah, it's definitely not as good as it sounds right now. It definitely has its bumps in its roads, but it's a fun thing. I mean, dating now in like my age group, like you go on a date if you want this girl to be your girlfriend. Nobody really just dates a date. You know, if you're going to have sex, you're going to have sex if that's what you want. If you want a date, you're going to date. It's almost hard to come by.
well, that's another question that a lot of women, or not a question, a lot of statements women are getting upset about that I've talked to, especially in the younger group, like 25 to around that age group. They're saying that the men expect them to have sex with them on the
Sounds about right. Yes. It's real sad.
So you don't worry about having sex with somebody so soon that they might be a
Oh
little
no,
bit
there's
of
a huge thing. If I have sex with a girl too soon, it's sad. Like I don't hold on to that shit, and then I like her a lot more. But if it's like too early, like like after the third date, it's fine. But like first or second date, you won't get another date if I have sex with you first. I just lose interest. I don't know.
So why?
So you expect them to have sex on the first date?
I hope not. If I'm going to, like I said, if I go on a date with a girl, I'm looking to date her in the long term. Yes, indeed, I like to have sex. So if she wants to, I will. But that's not in her favor.
Oh, no, good. I'm glad to hear you say that, because that's what the argument that I have with a lot of women when I say, well, I don't think the guys who really, truly, I think they want it if they just want to have sex. But I think long term, you get the odd person who, sorry, she's texting me here and I can find out what's going on. Can you? Okay. No, I can't see her. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on.
Can you hear me, Susan?
I don't know what is going on here. And I can't hear you.
Okay.
I can't hear her.
Okay. So, Bo, I'm going to bump you off just
no
so, okay. But thanks for phoning in. I really appreciate it. And way back in, but I'm just going to try and figure out this glitch.
So I don't know what's going on. Anyway, well, that's interesting to hear that. So you prefer, now you've disappeared.
Yeah. Susan, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Susan, can you hear me online?
Bruce? You can hear Andrea? Then maybe I should go on to Andrea. No, I can't hear you, Andrea.
Sorry, everybody. We've run into some technical difficulties here.
She can see and hear me.
Yeah, I can see and hear you. So,
okay, maybe I should go on that one then.
Right.
Let me try that one. Okay, I'm going to try something, Andrea.
Okay, so if anyone wants to hop on with a question, here we go. Bruce, hop on while Susan's just figuring that out. Are you there, Bruce?
Yep. I'm here.
Oh, there you are. So I'm going to get rid of this one. Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Okay.
Right on. Okay.
Let me close that.
I closed it. I kicked you off.
Okay, good. Oh my God. Well,
Yeah, new social media platforms and all their wonder. But here we are, we're
okay,
back.
well,
What was
one
happening
fellow and I had, we had talk and there was no problem at all. So
yeah, but I was talking at the same time too, so it got to be a bit much because he didn't know who he was talking to. So there you go. So you can see me now and I can see you. So we'll keep on clicking along. Well, see, there you go. You never know what's going to be a hot topic, right? And, what I got from what everyone was saying was that I really think it comes down to your own personal beliefs surrounding that. I do want to say that I think that this never would have been a question once upon a time because there was a very clear understanding to what each person's roles are. But with, the insurgence and growth of feminism and equal pay and women taking more of a role in the workforce, it's confused sort of the social romantic connection between men and women a little. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been talking about this for the last 5-10 minutes.
that's right.
So I think what my piece of advice is that if you are going out to date, be very clear about what your ideals are around that. And if you meet someone, and as Bo had said, I agree, it shouldn't be what the meat and potatoes of the date is. But if that's an issue for you, and a guy's upset because a woman hasn't even made the offer, or a man's upset because a woman wants to pay, it's finding someone that's aligned with that, or having the conversation. If you continue to go on several dates and you guys get on like a house on fire, and that's only the real little crux, then it needs to be addressed, because when it doesn't, it will blow up on you. And I've had enough conversations with people where that has become a problem. And it's one of the things that people don't feel comfortable talking about is sex and finance. And it's a big part, if you end up becoming boyfriend and girlfriend or getting married, having a clear understanding of where you both come from in that ideals surrounding that, I think is really key. And it doesn't have to be necessarily about you and him or her. I think it has to be about why you feel a certain way or how you were raised, to help the other person have a deeper understanding of that. But I think a lot of things just don't get talked about, and we run into problems.
Yeah, can you hear me okay right now?
Yeah, sure can.
The biggest thing is, like, you nailed it right there, is that nobody well, not nobody, but a good majority of people don't communicate. So what's happening is, like what I know it was, you got crossed with the different people that were sitting in the thing tonight, but the one fellow I was talking to from the States, he's just saying that he's fine with it all because he communicates. Like, he has his certain things that he likes, but he's a communicator. So he likes dating. He doesn't have a problem with it because he says what he likes, and he's not saying what he expects, but he has a certain thing in his mind which he likes, and majority of the time he doesn't have a problem with it because all these things work for him. And the biggest problem I think that most people are having, men and women, is because they're talking so much online, they're not talking face to face as much. So you forget how. You're used to typing something in a text. You're used to typing it in online. So when you actually meet face to face, it's a little bit different scenario. And people are not really, they're kind of losing that nice little way of learning how to talk. And I think that's what needs to come back. And so people. Yeah,
absolutely. And language is key. Yeah. I would like to take you out to X. I would like to, or can I treat you to, there's no reason that you meet for coffee the first time and you've built a little bit of a repartee back and forth online, and then you've gone onto the phone and you say, I would love for you to meet me. You're coming across town. Let me treat you to coffee so we can connect. Yeah. Being a little bit more direct and forthright about it, instead of leaving all this kind of ambiguity surrounding it. So I think our answer to that question was, you up your level of communication and be really clear about how you feel about that particular topic, so that you're aligning yourself with people that feel the same way. And I think everyone should be contributing, but in the initial stages,
absolutely.
Just my feedback from men is they like to pay, but they like to know that it's appreciated. So if someone at least makes the offer, that has been sort of the resounding feedback from men out there for the women that are watching tonight.
Or offer to, if you've already had like 3 or 4 dates, offer to make them dinner or brunch or something like that. Or if you're going to a movie, you pay for the movie. Exactly. But I mean, I think this conversation can be so many different the way people are. Like a fellow from Germany that called in, you know, Europeans have a different way of looking at things sometimes as well. So it's quite different from North America's views. And so, you know, that's the nice thing about the internet is you're going to get a mixture of views on this conversation, which could go on forever because of that. And so the trick is in the very, very beginning, when you first meet somebody, just talk, you know, like, okay, the guy asks you out for dinner. It'd be nice if he says, it's my treat. Right in the beginning of the night would be nice. And then nobody has to worry about that. Mm-hmm. That would be a nice thing to do, right? So then people aren't sitting there, like the girl might go, oh no, I'm a single mom, or I don't have a lot of money right now. What if I have to pay half, or what if I have, it's just kind of a nice way of letting somebody know that you know, this is a date and I'm going to take care of you tonight.
Yeah, I mean, a level of appreciation.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a nice thought, but you know.
So the roles have skewed a little there, but we're saying up your communication in order
that's
to
a big word,
make it
Andrea.
work. Yeah.
Communications, just start talking. Don't forget how to talk. I don't care how much online you go. Just learn, you know, practice if you have to. Practice talking to somebody, as you were mentioned earlier in the coffee lineup. Ask them what muffins are the best. Or I know that sounds kind of what, you know, maybe small talk, but it never hurts to talk like that with just anybody that you run into on the street. Keep up your communication in every form. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So we had touched a little bit earlier, and I'd love to get your feedback because you're talking to a lot of people a lot of the time, Sue. And have you been getting any feedback from sort of your female clients, or even not necessarily frustrations, but feedback from men as to sort of what the biggest challenges are for women in dating right now?
Well, I think the biggest challenges for women are the fact that they are more powerful in the business world now. Like there's a lot of women that are CEOs now. There's a lot of women who are real professional women in any type of business. So, and I think if the man is not working quite as, not making quite as much money, I think he still feels a little bit intimidated and inadequate with them. And I know that guys I've spoken to, they always joke about, yeah, well, I'm with the sugar mama, but they generally don't really like it. So I think sometimes, as much as it's hard to sort of talk about what you do for a living, because it's the worst question I think you can ask on a date. What do you do for work? Like, let that go and get to know each other without having all that sort of serious conversation about finances and everything else. But I think that a lot of guys are still a little bit sort of unnerved by women that are a little bit more of a powerhouse in the business sense. So that's what I'm hearing from guys. They also say that I get the materialistic type. The guys writing me and calling me about the women who are really materialistic. So that's where I came up with that thing about the dating in the beginning, about who pays and whatever. But a lot of men are saying that they're meeting super materialistic women that only want, you know, high roller type of guys. And I said, well, you maybe have to look at the type of women you're attracting. And also the venues you go to. If you're going to a kind of a high roller place where people in there are, you know, a little HM, a little high maintenance, well, that's what you're going to meet. So you got to set your you know, your venues and all that kind of stuff to where you want to be. So if it bothers a guy that he's with a woman who makes more money than him, then maybe he needs to change that up as to where he's hanging out, what he's doing, what kind of women he's attracted to. Because I don't think
is it a matter of changing venue, or is it a matter of changing sort of ideals? Like, where does the concern come from that a woman's making as much money or more than him? What is well, I think, are they articulating what's threatening about that?
They just are threatened by that she makes more money. They don't like it that she's got, I think the couple of guys I've talked to, especially one, said that he didn't like it that his friends were bugging him about, oh, you're sugar mama, and all this stuff. And so there's still a little bit, it's not there all the time, but that's what I get questions about from a lot of guys. They feel that women are high maintenance, but yet it's more their insecurity. if the woman is willing to pay and add more money into the relationship, she's okay with that, then really it'd be great if he was okay with that. But it's not happening quite yet with everybody. Because a lot of women don't mind if the guy stays at home and looks after the kids and she's out working. I mean, things have changed, but there's still a little bit of the old school that's hanging on to that and still can't really grasp it. And that's what the letters I get from certain guys are talking about.
So roles obviously are shifting. So that's a big yes to the question that's led us into this talk. And in doing that, there's going to be some navigating your way around it and finding comfort in those new roles. But what about even just the biology of it all? I mean, men are biologically built to be sort of the hunters and gatherers, and the women to be the nurturers. So with roles swinging so far the other way, where, you know, men are taking paternity leave instead of maternity leave, is it a matter of just finding someone that's aligned with one playing more of the feminine-based role in the relationship and the other one playing more of a masculine? And finding someone that you're aligned with and that works for you because that's where each partner's comfortable? Or is it something else?
I think, again, it goes down to the communication word, the C word, that everybody seems to hate. The thing is, what works for you in your partnership when you discuss it openly and you say to each other, what would you like to see? Would you be okay would you be comfortable at home doing this? Would you be comfortable going to work and making more money? It needs to be talked about, not just assumed and not just a given role. I think it still always needs to be discussed, especially when it's still kind of a bit on the nouveau side of, you know, I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, I don't know a lot of guys that would be okay staying home and being the mom, you know, what do they call it now? There's a word for it now, but the dad at home.
Paternity leave.
Yeah, but not even that, just even doing it on a full-term basis where the woman works and they stay home. I've met a few guys that do that and they're okay with it, but not all guys would do that. Not all guys would be okay with that. So it's all individual. I think it's still in that individual sort of role of how comfortable the guy is in his own skin about it. If it doesn't matter to him about the financial, who's making more money. And I think it maybe, I don't know, I don't even want to jump and say this too much, but I think the kids that were raised with mom and dad working might be better with that, might be okay with that. But if you're talking about a 40-year-old person they might not be as okay with that. I think we're still in that middle zone of everybody's still trying to figure crap out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's really key that you again have a really clear understanding of what's important to you and finding someone that's aligned with that. So whether you be meeting people in person or online, creating a lot of transparency and clarity around that issue. I know a lot of the time I'll get feedback from women that are, you know, they're playing they're really heavy in their masculine energy. So we had touched on this a little earlier about having to take care of everything themselves. It's almost, I don't need help, but at the same time, they're frustrated because they're attracting more feminine energy-based men who sort of are comfortable having the woman play that role, but they're wanting a really masculine man. So being able to reflect a little about how you're interacting with other people to allow space for that person to come in. I mean, it's tough now in dating, period, with the insurgence of all the online and apps and swiping and what have you. But you know, the reason why I was wanting so much to tap into this tonight is because I think it's become really confusing out there as to, you know, who's playing what role anymore, and people aren't being really transparent. And I think a little of it comes from a place of fear. But if they are fully transparent and they want to reside in that role that they've adopted, whether it be for work or otherwise, that they won't need anyone. that they'll end up alone, that they need to stay stuck in that traditional sort of ideal of what a woman is.
Yeah, and I think for both sexes, we have to kind of let go of the word role and just understand that we have physical differences, not necessarily like nowadays. There's a lot of men that have got a lot of emotional needs that they never had before because they weren't allowed to show them before. Now they're allowed to show them. And so all of a sudden, that's a new change for a lot of guys. They're allowed to be, you know, sensitive about something. Whereas before, Dad would say, you don't do that. You don't cry. You don't show any emotion. And now guys are kind of more in touch with that side of themselves. And so,
which is great.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
Which is a wonderful thing, and it should be nurtured. But they can still play. They can still remain in their masculine and be emotive. And I think women can still be accomplished and remain in their feminine as well. So I think it's practicing and finding that balance. And I mean, there's workshops and classes and people that are specifically teaching people how to tap back into, because we're talking about women tonight, back into their feminine, how to nurture that softness in them, that they can still be a strong and powerful person. And it's actually very powerful to be in your feminine. And you can still be accomplished and take on the world and do all those wonderful things. But you don't need to be fully masculine in order to do that. And, you know, for clarity for anyone that's listening, I'm not talking about looking necessarily masculine, although you'll see women change their form of dress and suiting and everything else, and a little bit more cold and hard in their corners in how they're presenting themselves. But that's not necessary either. You can still stay soft and express yourself in a feminine way without giving away any power whatsoever. And that's fully my belief. And I think it helps you when you date, if you come to that realization and support that part of you, and also honor what you need in order to be strong, whether predominantly it's in work as well. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would. I think what the big problem is, both sexes, I know we're talking mainly about women, but both sexes have a bit of a guard up. And I think women a bit more so right now. They don't want to be hurt anymore. They're sort of tired of the, you know, just the guys that just want sex and want nothing else. And so they're a little more guarded. They're a little tougher now because they're like, oh, what's the point? I can't be bothered anymore. All they want is sex, or all they want is this. And the trouble with taking on that kind of persona and being that person, it shows on the outside of who you are. It's not just about what you feel inside. It shows. It shows like our suit of armor, veneer, like, oh my God, I'm not going near that chick. She's tough. I don't want to break down that Berlin Wall. And I think that we've all been hurt. We've all had crap to deal with in our lives. Nobody escapes dealing with stuff in life that's hard. And the trick is to not keep wearing it as a mask, because most people just really want love in their life. And if they keep wearing this mask, they're not going to have it because they're repelling it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not just women that are doing that. Men are too. Men are getting, like, you know, if they are a sensitive kind of guy and an emotional guy, and they get screwed over by a girl because maybe they feel they were too soft with her. Well, the trick is all about learning who to be with that's compatible. Don't choose the kind of tough person that you can't break through. And same with women. You know, if you want a guy that's kind of his own man and he's a strong kind of guy, then don't go with the sort of more soft, sensitive type. It's just about taking time to look at who you're dating, who you're attracted to, because a lot of people keep attracting the same types to them. It's because sometimes when you put it, I mean, I hate to use the old law of attraction cliche, but it's true. If you keep putting out what you don't want, you keep attracting it, because that's what's kind of out there. That's what you're thinking about. So,
well, and you're doing the picking.
You are. You're the one in charge.
Yeah. You're doing the picking. Things aren't happening to you. You're doing the picking. So
who you allow in your life, and that's another thing too. Like, the circle of friends that you hang with, people think, oh, that shouldn't matter, but it can matter, because if you're hanging around with a group of people that really aren't that much like you, but you're just hanging out with them because you go, well, they're going out tonight and I don't want to stay home, and you're going out and you're going to places that are really not your kind of style, and you keep meeting people that aren't really your and that's why when you asked me earlier about the venue, sometimes the venue is important, because it might not be your style of what you really want to do, and you're putting yourself into a place that you're uncomfortable with, or it's not really your thing. And then you might meet somebody there and that's what they like. So venue is quite important, and so is your taste on what you like to do. You know, if you don't really want to golf, then don't go golfing. Because if you meet a guy that golfs, you're screwed, because he's going to be golfing every weekend. Guys that golf a lot for the most part. So it's important to pick your you know, your events, your what you like in life, and surround yourself with that sort of thing, because then you'll get more of it back. But if you keep putting yourself into things you don't like, you're going to get more of that back.
Yeah, live what you want. So communication and authenticity being so key, and living what it is that you want, and you know, put roles aside, but being aware of how you're presenting yourself, and I think is really key here. We're coming kind of to the end of our hour, and something that I really wanted to talk on, because you and I got, you know, really chatting about this the other day, and I think it's important, and it comes up a ton in dating, is age. So here's a great little quote that I discovered. It says, "In youth we learn, in age we understand." Would you agree with that? Is that what's happening out there right now in the dating world? In youth we learn, in age we understand.
Oh, well, I think I get the gist of what they're trying to say in that little meaning there, but I think that some people can be 95 and still not get it. So I think it's in how you learn from the mistakes you've made, and to own your crap. Because if you don't own stuff that you've done or you've allowed, and that's a big one, the allow word, because as we said earlier, you're in charge of who you are. And if you're allowing stuff and then getting mad at the world because you keep getting the same stuff back and forth, well, who's making that happen? You are. So yes, I think youth is all about stepping stones, but you can get up to the top of the ladder a lot faster if you own the stuff that went wrong. But a lot of people don't. They just keep repeating the same thing over and over again. The old insanity, you know? Yeah, yes. Albert Einstein. Thank you for that quote. I think the reason men, like you and I talked about this the other day, the reason men are a little more, can be comfortable with older women is because a woman knows what she wants, usually sexually, at that stage of her life. If she's like, you know, 40 and up or whatever, she's had a lot of stuff maybe that went on that wasn't great, and she might just want a nice casual relationship that's kind of friends with benefits or whatever. I'm not sure if most.
We're talking about the whole 20-year-old man, 40-year-old women phenomenon that seems to happen.
When you brought up the age thing, I think that's why some men are attracted to older women, is because of that they've lived a little bit more. They're not as, they're not usually as high maintenance. That's not saying all of them, and sometimes they just know what they want. And a guy kind of goes, oh, I like this. But if he just learned to communicate that with his own age group too, then he could have it there as well.
Well, you know, touching on age, and, you know, and I get that, but, you know, we might need to talk again, Susan, about that.
That's a whole new subject.
Yeah, that's a whole new subject. And that having legs, and you know, missing sort of that window that if you're dating dramatically between an expanse of age, that what are you coming together on, and how does that shift and change as you both mature? Think about family and children and career and lifestyle. I firmly believe that you either grow together or you grow apart. And although we always want to practice living in the now, there are some realities in having a huge age gap as both of you mature and grow through your life, and doing the work in order that you stay aligned. But getting back to women and age, I mean, we still live in a time where youth and beauty are sort of put up on this pedestal, and a lot of the equation of worth is still attached to it for women. Do you see that shifting and changing, or do you agree with that statement?
I think it's getting really bad. And I think the reason it's getting really, I just wrote a blog about it, actually. Well, actually, it wasn't a blog. It was a fellow wrote in to me about it, saying that he's so sick of meeting the Barbies and the reality housewife type of women. And he said that, I don't understand why everybody wants to look the same. And, you know, because he feels that, you know, you go to go and have your lips done or your what do you call that, filler stuff. He says, you know, that everybody's starting to look the same, and he just wants a, you know, a real woman that, you know, takes care of herself, but she's not all about trying to look different. And I think what's happening is it's become extremely competitive with women, more so women with women. And so, yeah, I don't see it changing. I think that it's the whole, you know, going into the getting the Botox. I mean, girls are doing it really early, you know, 23, 25, and, you know, their skin hasn't even changed yet, and they're getting it done because they think it's preventative and they want to do this to always stay young. So it's going to be a long time.
It's going to be a long time. Well, hopefully continuing to have conversations about it will open up the dialogue. I mean, that is the focus of these talks. I think that's probably a topic we should dive into again, just age alone, because there's so many areas to dig in on that. I think it's a challenge that women in particular have to deal with, but I know the guys, there's now an expectation on them about, you know, how they should look, which really is, we all age, and it's, as much as it sounds a bit cliche about it being what's on the inside, it really is true. And I think really when you are developing your inner work, it shows up on the outside anyways, and that's what becomes more and more appealing.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the floor open to anyone that's listening that wants to hop on and maybe ask any questions and get in any wisdom from Susan before we say goodbye tonight. We were talking about, you know, women's roles and who does what tonight, and we've brought up some really neat topics and I think come up with some key points on how to navigate your way around that. But sometimes when you have a discussion, things come up that you want addressed directly. You might have had your own personal experience. So if anyone wants to hop on now before we say goodbye for the night, please go ahead and do so. We're going to wrap up for just around 8 o'clock. Here we go. We got John hopping on. You still here and see me, Susan?
I can see you, yeah. I know. It's kind of nerving out.
Okay, good.
That's what happened last time.
Yeah. We'll just wait for John to pop on here. Any, as he comes on, Susan, final thoughts that you really want to leave for the ladies? You know, I know we've been very inclusive, and it's important that we have that dialogue with the guys as well. But any like thoughts that you know, you're talking to a woman out there that's maybe struggling a little bit with dating and some of the challenges she's having? Would you give her some sort of well-rounded words of wisdom?
I just think, well, it really is for both sexes, but since we're talking about women, I think we just really, as women, need to just not lump people into a category. We need to look at every situation as an individual situation. If you've had something happen with somebody where you feel that, you know, maybe they didn't like what you were doing for a job, you're making more money, just look at the next guy and just treat it completely differently. Don't sit there and say, oh, there's no guys in this city, there's no one for me, oh, dating sucks, what's the point? I mean, I can't tell you how often I hear that. It's such a defeatist attitude, and I understand why women get hurt. But if you keep doing that, you're never going to find somebody that's special to you, because you're lumping everybody into one category. And guys too, it's the same thing. And guys say that women are all, somebody's coming on here. When guys say that women are all a certain way, no, none of us are a certain way. We're all different, and we just need to treat each other individually.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree. And I think getting really clear about, my 2 cents would be getting really clear about who you are, doing a little bit of reflection on your dating life, and looking at some of the choices that you've made, celebrating the positive things, nurturing your love life. You got to love your love life in order for it to work well for you.
And also too,
and keeping focused on what it is that you are wanting, being really clear. Can you sit down and be clear about what you are wanting in your life? And are you living the life that is aligned with what you're wanting?
Yes. And look at each situation as anything that's gone on in your life. I'm not saying every horrible, horrible thing, but somebody you've dated and it didn't work out. Don't look at it as a waste of time. Look at it as something that you're going to learn by, so that either you don't repeat it or you learn something about yourself in the meantime that you can change. It might be something you did, why it didn't work out. But look at all those things within what happened in that short time that you were with them. Even if it was a 5-year relationship or a marriage, own your part in why it didn't work out. And once you start doing that, you learn little things about yourself that you improve on and you don't repeat again. And then you grow, you keep growing, you diversify who you are as a person. But if you keep saying, well, it's nothing to do with me, it was all their fault, or, well, I didn't learn anything, what a waste of time. Nothing's really a waste of time. There's always a valuable message. But we don't look at it that way. We get jaded, we get angry.
Right. Yeah. Right. So remain positive and own your shit.
Just say, oh gosh, you know, you can smack yourself upside the head and say, what did I do that for? What was I thinking? You know, oh my God, I knew they weren't right for me. You know, but you learn from it and you won't do it or try not to do it again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, Susan, John's tried numerous times here to get on. I'm not quite sure why he's not popping on. John, if you're wanting to pop your question maybe into the question box on the left, while I give Susan the opportunity to let everyone know where you can find her and what she is up to. Go ahead, Susan.
Well, you can find me on YouTube. You can just type in my name, Susan McCord, MCCORD, and my videos will pop up that way. And Dear Syber Sue is my Facebook. So Dear Syber, oh, there he is, SYBER, not CY. And so those two things you can find me quite easily. And Twitter, it's Dear Syber Sue as well. Hi, John.
Fantastic. Hi. Hey. John, thanks for being so persistent. You finally made it on. You got a question for us?
Yes, good there. What kind of tips do you got for just approaching a woman at say a grocery store or some random place? You just see a girl, and what kind of good way would you say a good approach would be? Would you say like asking a question about something? Say, go up to them and ask a question about a specific thing, or do you think just avoiding that way entirely would be the way to go? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Susan, do you want to chime in first?
I think that's amazing, and I love it when I was, my husband's here right now, so I can't say too much, but I loved it when I was in a grocery store and guys would come up and start saying something to me. I talk to everybody everywhere, John. Like, I just talk because I don't make it like it's always about a date or anything. So it's quite comfortable for me to just talk to somebody and go, oh, where'd you get that? I never saw those. Or oh, that looks really, really great. What is that? Or, you know, anything like that is perfect, because everybody says that no one talks to each other anymore. And I like the fact that you asked that question, because I think that is the best way to meet somebody without being cheesy about it. You know, just what you just said a minute ago about asking them a question about something, or, you know, you're going to cook something for dinner and just say, have you ever made lasagna? Like, do I put this in it? What kind of noodle do I get? Do you know? You know, anything along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the key is being really warm and authentic, John. I mean, and be a little reflective if the shoe was on the other foot. So if a woman walked up to you and gave you a dazzling smile and said, hi, can I have a question about something, or whatever the lead in is, and it was warm and friendly, you probably wouldn't even think that she's necessarily coming over to engage you because there's any romantic interest there. You might just think that she's just being warm and friendly and wants to know where the oranges are. So I think if you're just really authentic and genuine and warm, because if someone's really engaging that way and you smile at them almost in a way like you already know them, then already you're opening the door for them to be soft and welcoming back. And I think practice is huge. If you're out on the street, just smile and say hi and just keep on walking without even any expectation.
Oh yeah, and especially if you're in a lounge or something too, and there's a bunch of women near you, you can just walk by on your way to the bathroom and just say, hi ladies, I hope you're having a good night, and just keep going, don't stop. Because what it does is it opens the doors that you're not coming on to them. You're not trying to have sex with them in 5 minutes, but you're letting them know that you see them. And 9 times out of 10, one of the women will maybe say something, or, hey, come on over, or she'll get, you know, someone will get the conversation going.
Yeah, so warm and genuine, and practice out on the street. I love it when someone just gives me a big, friendly, warm smile and just says hi. Yeah, just practice. And then it'll be like when you finally run in or see that girl that you want to engage, it'll be no big deal. And don't go in with an expectation other than to engage another person and have a great conversation with them.
And humor is huge. If you can use a funny little play, like a funny little line or something. I mean, not everybody has that in them, and in a spontaneous way. But if you do, humor's huge. Humor will get the girl looking at you no matter what.
Yeah, it's one of the most requested things that women have, and men too, for sense of humor.
It makes them feel.
But yeah, and everybody out there, please start talking to each other. When I talk to my female clients, they're dismayed because men aren't engaging them, and then men feel that they can't approach women. So the lesson there is everyone wants someone to talk to them and engage with them, but no one's doing it. So if you want to lead the charge, John, I think that's fantastic. All the power to you.
Yeah, go, John, go. I like that you asked that question.
Thank you. That was really good advice. Like I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that now. I'm just going to, because there's been opportune times, and I've been seeing some times where that could have easily been, something like that could have been worked. Or I've even had, girls come up to me there in the store, just ask me questions on things. I'm just kind of like, oh yeah. Just give them a quick response and then kind of like move on. And I'm just like, oh, maybe I could have did something there. Or maybe that could have. But then I just kind of just like, So that's good. I'm definitely.
I love that.
Yeah, and practice. And you brought up a point that not missing out when opportunity arises, and you have nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose. You didn't know them ahead of time. You can engage and have a lovely conversation. If it doesn't lead to anything else, you've lost absolutely nothing. Perfect. So there's no risk there whatsoever. Yeah. But being aware of opportunity. I had a male friend of mine the other day who messaged me, and he said, I was sitting on the bench and a beautiful woman walked up and asked me where the coffee shop was. And he said, all I did was point. He said, and I hit myself up the side of the head after thinking, why didn't I offer to go buy her a coffee? Or here, I'll show you where the coffee shop is.
Where it is good.
So be present and look for those opportunities as well. And it's just everybody be kind and warm to each other, and it'll just get easier and easier.
Yeah, and smiling. If when in doubt, hi and a smile.
Yeah,
that sometimes
absolutely.
Is enough to open the door for them to engage it back into something. And you can also tell by their eyes how they're looking at you like. Yeah. If there's some kind of interest, like, oh, hi, oh, you know what I mean? Like you can sort of see the body language of her to see if she's interested or she's just going like, yeah, whatever. You can see a lot about a person in 5 minutes by watching how they react.
Yeah, absolutely. So work on the high, John, and I think I'm going to leave it there and go out on a high note with some great advice for you. I'm back here again on the 29th next week. We're taking a little reprieve from the Love Talks. The 29th, I'm going to be on with Diane Taylor, and we're going to be talking about how to actually have actionable things to enhance love in your life, either a pre-existing relationship or how to attract the right person into your life or how to just enhance your love life. So we'll be talking about elevating love on the 29th, and that's with Diane Taylor. My name again is Andrea Hill. You can find me over at jointhedinnerparty.com or on Facebook at facebook.com, The Dinner Party Vancouver. I write a weekly blog. I do these talks and lots of other things to help people just date better. Susan does much the same thing. You can find her at Dear Syber Sue, and she's got amazing catalogs of dating advice on her YouTube channel. So definitely check her out. And thanks so much, everybody, for watching tonight. Thank you, Susan, for being here. And we'll see you all again on the 29th.
Thanks, Andrea.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Andrea.
Bye.
Thank you, Susan.
Bye, John.
My pleasure. Bye.